everybody's asking the question, can TCU do it? Michigan is now a 7.5-point favorite, 8 points on some books, 7.5 on BetMGM, 8 points right now on DraftKings.
Mm-hmm.
The over-under is 58.5, 59. It started off at 9.5 and it dropped to 7.5 and it's hovered. Now, we know the narrative of TCU, and they play hero ball. Max Duggan plays hero ball. He's awesome, Heisman candidate. We saw what Michigan did to Ohio State. We saw what Michigan did to Purdue in the Big Ten Championship. We know what they're capable of. This one has just as many question marks around it as Ohio State, Georgia. How do you feel about this game?
My gut reaction, I kind of like Michigan here. But one, I do want to give TCU some credit. You know, people said they played a weak schedule. But I kind of disagree with that. I know the Big 12 is not as strong as it usually is, obviously, with Oklahoma struggling. You know, Texas is kind of getting back to where they used to be, but they still have some steps they got to make. But don't get me wrong. TCU, I believe, beat like 3, 4, or 5 ranked teams this year. I mean, they played a tough schedule. They were tested. They had several games that were decided by one possession, which at the end of the day can be a good thing because you have that experience in these big games to where, you know, when it's coming down to the wire, TCU has been here before. But, however, I do think that this Michigan team has played some tougher opponents. You know, what they did to Ohio State. Again, that score doesn't exactly reflect what that game should have looked like, in my opinion. But this Michigan offense, I feel, is much better than TCU. And I would even give the defensive edge to Michigan as well. You know, I know you're the analytical guy, but that's just kind of how I see it. I do think that Michigan can win this game by a couple possessions. So my gut reaction, I'm not going to lay an official pick. This is kind of going to be in a game I just watch and enjoy. But I am leaning more towards Michigan minus 7.5.
Yeah. Believe it or not, I am too. I think Michigan covers 7.5. I think this is a hook line, in my opinion.
Right.
Public is on it 55 to 45. So nothing crazy with the public numbers, but it opened at 9.5, and so I guess, you know, I can't. It doesn't look like really the public bet it down. Not really sure why the adjustments in the line, but I don't know. I look at it on paper, and Michigan is such a more well-rounded team than TCU is, and when watching TCU against Kansas State, like if Max Duggan and TCU didn't play hero ball and keep it close, it would have been like a 14-point win for Kansas State.
Right.
And so I don't know, man. Like I struggled with it because I'm like, how can you bet against destiny? Feels like TCU's a team that's just destined to be that Cinderella story, but in reality, all Cinderella stories come to an end before we want them to. So I think that 7.5 is kind of a hook line because everybody's like, 7.5, not 7. Give me TCU to cover, and a 2-possession spread. I don't know. I think what's weighing heavy on me is when I looked at the Clemson, North Carolina ACC championship. It fixated at 7.5, and everybody's like, North Carolina, heavy on North Carolina, and it stayed. It didn't move. So I see similar vibes of like everybody is a believer in this TCU one, and they want to take the 2-possession points, but I think Michigan wins by like 10 or something like that. So and my model gave a 13-point output, but just it makes the most logical sense. TCU, 65th in the nation in offensive success rate, 47th in defensive success rate. Michigan, 10th overall in offensive success rate, 14th overall in defensive success rate, and number 2 in EPA margin compared to TCU's 23rd. TCU, like, solid, well-rounded, but they're not, they're not top 5 in anything. They're not top 10 in anything, really. And so I don't know. It's tough because they had a full month too, and it's going to be like, again, what I think it boils down to is coaching plays a lot more of a role in these type of games, because you have a month off to prepare strategically, and so it's like this is Gary Patterson versus Jim Harbaugh, who gets the nod. But I kind of like the idea. I mean, Michigan, dude, they got embarrassed last year. They want Georgia again, and I think they get it. It's just a matter of, will this game be kept close? I don't think so. I think my score prediction is a 30-17 point win for Michigan, and I like the under here. I think both of these teams run a lot more than what Vegas is giving them credit for, and I think it's going to be kind of a little, it's going to. I feel like when it first starts, it's going to be a little bit of a struggle to watch because it's going to be like, 7-3. Nearing the halftime or something. I feel like it's going to be one of those games where it's just like, gosh, it's, where are the points, man? This was supposed to be a shootout in the way, and I don't think so. Both teams love to run. Edwards on Michigan, he's going to get the ball a ton. And Miller on TCU, he's done the same thing all year. And everybody likes, like Max Duggan has done a ton for this team. He's the focal point. But I think people, kind of overlook the fact that TCU runs the ball at a really, really high rate. And Miller is a really, really solid dude. But, I mean, Michigan is going to be able to stop him. I'm very confident in that. So I'm looking at it like a 30-20 win for